Hello and welcome to episode 61 of When the Flames Go Up, the ATFC podcast. This episode is going to be talking about the Barnet away game, which we skipped an episode. Bit too busy, soz. And the Yeovil at home game to close out the season. And we discuss a little bit about the end of the season, but we're going to do a full kind of recap of the season and choose our award winners for the season after the Spennymoor game. So still a chance for those players to stake a claim for some of the awards that we did last year, such as I can't remember. We'll do some different awards. I've seen the old supporters club did some funny awards. So fair play to them. They've nailed the market. So yeah, we've got Guy and Ian on the call tonight to discuss those two and look ahead to the Spennymoor game on Sunday. Just a game, just another game, just another game in another stadium somewhere in London. So yes, and we're going to come out with a Wembley special in a couple of days. So you'll probably have this in your feeds on Tuesday, and then on Thursday or maybe Friday, just this week, you'll have a Wembley special recapping or talking about our stories of Wembley, some voice notes from the gang, and yeah, so that'll be a bit more of a um, nostalgic, emotive episode rather than this one, which is purely talking about the match in general. So yeah, that's it. Enjoy this episode and be sure to check out Thursday or Friday's episode before you go make your trips to Wembley on Sunday. Up the shots. So the shots finished the season in 16th position, a similar goals conceded, a similar losses column, with a few more draws thrown in, ending on 57 points, 5 points clear of Dag Red, and also Maidenhead on the same points in 52. Um, the last few weeks have been a bit strange. We missed last week on the pod as we went to Barnet, who clinched promotion with a 4-0 win over us. And then recently, the shots ended the season with a 2-1 win at home to Yeovil. I'm going to come to you first, Ian, as you were there at the Barnet game. I didn't catch it. I've just caught up on the highlights. What were your thoughts from the Hive?
Yeah, I was foolishly optimistic for the Barnet game. I thought, well, with Barnet needing a point and we'd be happy with a point, that perhaps it'd be quite a boring afternoon and not much would happen, and that would suit both teams whilst Barnet were waiting to get the trophy. But unfortunately, within 10 minutes, we'd given away a penalty. It did seem a bit soft, but watching back the replay probably was the right decision. And then a few minutes later, there's a second penalty. Now, that one I don't agree with. Even after watching the highlights, I'm not keen, but 2-0 down very quickly. There was absolutely no way back from there. Whatever Aldershot tried, the Barnet just had all the answers and they were determined to put on a show for their fans, lifting the trophy and making their way back to the Football League. So, yeah, I was one of the 160 odd. Very lucky to be there in some respects, but also quite unlucky because, yeah, one of those games we didn't perform well, but I think it is also testament to how good Barnet are and very much deserve winners of the league.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've known they're a bit of a class above, especially this turn of the year when they went on that really strong run, despite York being on a decent title-winning run as well. They've still ended up 6 points behind them. So yeah, Barnet ended on 102 points, with a goals for of 97, sticking four past us last weekend to seal the deal. Yeah, I mean, I think the second penalty with the kind of drag back in the box it's a continual debate in football that I'm still not sure which side of the fence I sit on. I don't know if that's a foul or not. It's one of those, if he wasn't held back, would he have scored kind of situations, which is where football comes into these endless grey areas. And
Yeah,
I
it
can't remember
seemed
the one
like
that
the
was given
sort
in
of
the Champions League. What was that a couple of weeks ago? I don't know if it got overturned or was given a penalty. I think it was given a penalty. but yeah, I can't quite remember.
Yeah, the second penalty with Barnet, it was like you felt like the position of the Barnet player, although he was no more than 6 yards out, you sort of felt like it wasn't a very good ball that he had almost no chance of getting to. And then it just seemed bizarre that the ref would give that. But yeah, maybe it's one of those that, the better teams do tend to get those decisions because they were putting up so much attacking threat at the time. And maybe the ref just thought, oh, yeah, good chance there. Yeah, he must have pulled him back. So, yeah, not a great one. But yeah, it was a tough afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, yeah, the 165 Aldershot. I mean, it's weird. We've had two games this season, Sittingbourne and Barnet. We've had a weird kind of allocation that's been meant that some people that would might have wanted to go couldn't go. I doubt we'll have another season with two games like that. And then I guess well, we broadly touched. I mean, I've got nothing more to add to Barnet other than a text I got saying it was a spineless performance. So I mean, I was just enjoying myself in Berlin. Having a nice weekend.
Okay.
Guy, did you have any thoughts on the Barnet game from afar?
Yeah, I wasn't. I mean, obviously, I wasn't at the game and I wasn't watching it on the TV, but I was following it on the radio. In fact, since I last spoke to you guys and was on the show, it's been about a month since I joined you guys, and so since then we've had a couple of games against York, against Woking, and then against Barnet, where we have really made it difficult for ourselves, haven't we? By going down 2-0 against Barnet within the first 20 minutes, 3-0 against Woking and York, and three goals in both of those games within the first 20 minutes. And it was hard listening because I was listening to it on the radio, and after 20 minutes, you kind of thought, well, now it's two down. I mean, what's the chances of Aldershot coming back on this? Because there's it, it, there's been a number of games since the Woking game in the semi-final where we just really haven't performed. We've been sort of under par, and we weren't making it easy for ourselves. But yeah, it was difficult to listen to, and there was a point at halfway through the second half where I thought, how much longer can I listen to this? Because there's nothing coming from Aldershot, but got to listen.
Yes, we love a trier. We love a trier. There's always a chance with
Hmm.
other games. I feel like when you're playing the champions elect and you're 2-0 down or 3-0 down, I mean you've that
Well, I
is
think yeah.
game gone.
I mean, I'm a little bit less optimistic than some of the colleagues on this podcast. I mean, I didn't really think we were going to get anything from the Barnet game anyway, just given the way that they've been playing and performing, and so it was much of a piece once I heard that they were two down after 20 minutes. So I wasn't really expecting very much. It would have been, I guess, I was listening just to see whether they might be able to get a consolation. That was it.
Yeah, and I guess the only saving grace from the afternoon after the 4-0 was seeing that Southend had beaten um, the name escapes me, mate. Wildstone? Who did
It
they
was
beat?
Wildstone,
It
yeah.
was Wildstone. Okay, great. Which meant that we secured safety for another year in the National League. Well, it's still we're breaking records every year now because we are the longest serving, I think, of the current teams in there. So then we moved on to Yeovil with a chance to go above them in the last game of the season on Bank Holiday Monday, and the shots came through 2-1 winners. Um, a goal from Barham in the first half, breaking through from a ball forward from Theo Widrington. A brilliant finish or brilliant like run through and cut inside and got it under the keeper. And then Frost made it two early on in the second half. And then Aldershot did manage to make it nice and nervy, conceding in the 60th minute with a very as soon as I saw the highlights, I thought that I mean that's we haven't learned any lessons from the Woking game because it's basically exactly the same as two of the goals that we conceded away at Woking with a ball, just a kind of not an aimless ball. It's a decent area ball into the box, but no one really claiming it, no one really going for it, and it skips through to ex-shot Don Bernard, who I didn't realise was at Yeovil, to head home. Um, Guy, what are your thoughts on Yeovil at home, last game of the season?
Well, I mean, sort of following on from the Barnet, I mean, as you said, we were safe before the game, so that was really reassuring. I don't think we would have wanted to have gone into Yeovil knowing that. I mean, it was always in our hands anyway, rather than sort of relying on results around us. But to be able to go into the final game and not have to worry, I think it was a relief. But that said, yes, we won, but let's not take away from Yeovil. I mean, Yeovil had quite a few chances. I mean, in the first 15, 20 minutes, there were about three chances that they had, 1 minute after another. Just couldn't put the ball in the net. But we also a bit weak. We lost the ball in midfield and let them come forward. So the fact that we were 2-0 up by the middle of the second half, I think maybe flattered us a little bit. And as you say, Aldershot doesn't do it easily because, of course, after Yeovil got their goal, we were a bit on the back foot. Certainly in the last, certainly in the last 10 minutes, and particularly into injury time. And that's something we really do need to revisit because we struggled, I think, a bit this season to put distance between ourselves and the teams that we've been playing. We talked about this a little bit beforehand. The number of draws that we've had this season, which games we could have won, which we ended up drawing. Games that we could have drawn, we ended up losing. So that's something we need to rectify in the summer. And in a way, I kind of felt watching that game, it was a little bit of a microcosm of the season because you got a sense of it really ebbed and flowed. I mean, we've never been, fully on top. We've never completely controlled and dominated games. We've done it in patches, in places, but we've kind of ridden our luck a bit at times. And in many ways, I think that game encapsulated a lot of that.
Yeah, and it's similar to what Tommy said in his post-match that he felt that game was much like the rest of the season, or it seems like he's kind of repeating himself. Um, Yeah, a couple of things that he did mention. Obviously, he mentioned about the pitch, which I mean, I'm sure he has mentioned it previously, but it was quite outward about how the pitch has been affecting uh, the players, which is quite an interesting thing to come out in an interview to say. And he also talked about the yellow card or no yellow card for the bench, which apparently, according to him, has been 8 games without one, which is a great streak from Tommy. And I wondered if that meant that they were close to a ban because he said, "Oh, well, like all of the bench will be there on Sunday," which is quite remarkable that they've got up to the point of a ban and then gone right. Well, let's just try not to say anything to the ref or I don't know how they can just now control it, but I suppose we've not had many two high octane games where everything's on the line other than the Woking game, um, which I'm amazed they didn't get a yellow for that one. Interesting. Ian, what are your thoughts on the close to the season on Monday?
Yeah, I must admit I wasn't at Yeovil at home on Monday, so just following from afar, just pleased we finished with a win. 57 points, so 5 clear of relegation. It kind of puts a better spin, and I think it's most importantly going into next Sunday with a victory under the belts and a bit of regain of confidence. Possibly the best 11 that's available were selected. Don't think there's too much people would change necessarily. So yeah, good end to the season, decent crowd, and yeah, we hope to be back in August for more of the same.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would say the starting 11 is basically what I would select. Obviously, the only concern now is Hargreaves, who went off after a kind of a challenge which left him with a gash on his leg. So unsure. I think that the team I think he was in the hospital on Saturday evening. So yeah, getting that sewn up. Hopefully, I don't know. I'm not sure how quickly you can come back from that, or can you just bandage it up tight and just get 45 out of him? It'd be a shame if Hargreaves didn't get any minutes at Wembley because I think he's been instrumental. Well, not just throughout the season, but throughout the cup run as well. So hope for his sake and for our sake as well that we can get a bit of Cam Hargreaves action at Wembley. Well, I suppose we may as well move on to it. We're saying the W word now. It's all I'm thinking about. I've got the tickets right beside me, which are beautiful, and I'll be framing them as soon as I'm scanned into the turnstiles at Wembley. But this part of the episode is just going to be about the actual game, which is hard to believe we've actually got a game of football to preview and talk about. This is probably the last time I'll think about the game, and then it's all just being excited for the day at hand. So the Shots are playing Spennymoor Town at a neutral venue called Wembley. I believe Ulster haven't been there before. Spennymoor Town, they've been in decent form since their win over Rochdale in the semi-final of the FA Trophy. Obviously, they won on penalties. They're three unbeaten in the league at the end. 3 wins in 5 since that game at Rochdale. Their only defeat in that 5 was against second place Scunthorpe, who notched up 92 points and didn't get promoted, or haven't yet. Which obviously that run is a bit of a contrast to Aldershot's last 6 since the Woking game, which were 4 defeats, and by quite a few goals. York, Barnet, Woking. Um, Despite that form, they did miss out on the playoffs. They were waiting. They had 2 more teams that they needed to drop points. I think. Yeah, they beat Oxford City. Then they needed a Buxton or a Curzon Ashton to drop points as well at the same time. I was looking up their manager, Graham Lee. I'm not sure if I mean I broadly remember him a little bit as a centre half, but I don't think he ever crossed our shores at the Rec. I was trying to figure out. I don't think he's played at Wembley because he basically had 2 finals. I think '05 and an I want to say '03, something like that. But they were both at the Millennium Stadium when the new Wembley was being built. He was in the Doncaster team that beat Leeds in the League One playoff final, but I don't think he was in the squad for that day. So it didn't actually. He might have been at Wembley, but I don't think he played at Wembley. Um, so yeah, that's potentially his first appearance as a player or a coach on Sunday. A couple of players to look out for. I'm sure we'll note some more down. But I had a little look. Ex-shot Brad James is in goal. He played 12 games for us on loan from Middlesbrough in a 2021 season. Had no idea he played that many, but go well, Brad. Glenn Taylor up front. Now, basically, as cast iron club legend as you can get. He scored over 200 goals for Spennymoor and did it this season. I think he needed 14 at the start of this season. He scored 18. And annoyingly, it's his birthday on Sunday. So, I mean, all the parallels start to match up. That looks like a bit of a cup win kind of thing. I can see the non-league paper front page already. Other players, McCowan in midfield, who scored 9, set up 4 this season, and Rob Ramshaw, who's been there since 2016, which is it's crazy. That's 9 years. He's been ever present all season. I think he's played every game. So he's played 46 league games. He's scored 6 and set up 5. Let's start there. I've been talking for a long time. Ian, how are you feeling about beating potentially Spennymoor Town on Sunday?
Yeah, I'm quite nervous about this one on the basis that I was not too worried about the result. Just getting to Wembley felt more important, but now we're there. I think we've got to make the most of it and try and win. So, not that we weren't going to try it, not start again. I think, yeah, I think we've got to try and make the most of the visit and really go for this one. Traditionally, yeah, the National League North is perhaps not as strong as the South. We've not come across any Northern teams this year from National League, so we're not that clear on the standard that they possess. But they must be doing something right. They've obviously knocked out Rochdale in the previous round, and I think there were other scalps that they had from our level. So there's every reason to think that Spennymoor will really fancy themselves. They probably would have been looking at Aldershot's form and looking at some of the games and thinking, okay, there's probably a few weaknesses that can be exploited. But I just hope with Aldershot perhaps, having one eye on Wembley over recent weeks that they'll be up for it themselves and they'll be ready to combat whatever Spennymoor are going to try and throw at us. So, yeah, I think this will be a close game for sure. And hopefully Aldershot will just edge it. even if that needs extra time penalties.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, if anyone's got any advance tickets booked to get home, yeah, keep an eye out for the extra time and penalties, which may ensue. I assume it's going to be a tight game. But excited to see what both of these teams look like on a flat, skiddy, nice pitch, which we haven't been accustomed to for a few months at Aldershot. And as you mentioned, yeah, they have had a couple of other National League scalps. They beat Sutton United away 2-0 in the quarterfinals and beat Boston on penalties in the fifth round. Guy, come to you. How are you feeling about playing Spennymoor on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, in a way that I mean, I'm a little bit perturbed when it comes to form because we've underperformed over the last month since we got to Wembley, and as I mentioned in the previous intervention, we've not made it easy for ourselves by conceding so early in the game. So I think earlier in the season we talked quite a bit about the fact that Aldershot seemed to be quite weak in the first 15 minutes after half time in the second half. They seemed to concede quite a lot then. But it seems to have switched now. So in the last few games, it's really in the first 15 minutes, 20 minutes that we've conceded goals, and that makes it difficult. You're basically making a mountain for yourself. So if we can hold out for the first half hour or so, I think that should help settle things and reassure us. Look, we have the players, and we are at the at the higher level, albeit Spennymoor having made some scalps along the way. But yeah, I kind of feel it's in our hands, really. Certainly, Spennymoor's been on a bit of a run in the last few games, and you mentioned both, not only Taylor and Ramshaw, but and also McEwen. There's also another player we should probably look out for, which is Mondell. I think he plays from sort of right midfield, and he sort of cuts in. He's certainly one worth watching. I was looking at the highlights in their last game against Oxford City, and they do have a good ability to surge forward. To really to win the ball in midfield and to go forward. And certainly McEwen, when he scored, he did exactly that. And I know Oxford City's much of a lower caliber than Spennymoor, but they do have the ability to run at teams, and so that's something we need to look out for, particularly given sort of our somewhat precarious uh, defense line at times. And as I mentioned, against Yeovil, we did lose the ball a number of times in midfield. But that, as I said, I think we do have, we have a chance. And I mean, it's not going to come round again. I'm sure that it's been probably the case. I think we've been listening. We've been talking about it. We've been listening. There is a sense, perhaps, amongst some of the players that, of course, they've wanted to sort of they've been looking forward to this game, and maybe sort of the season was a bit anticlimactic since the Woking semi-final. Well, now it's come. So now's the time. Now's the time to play. And yeah, I'm sort of quietly confident, but at the same time, I haven't, a little bit like Ian. It was so important for me just to sort of get to Wembley. And there is actually now this game that we've got to win. That it's only starting to really, crystallize in my mind that we need to do something about this on Sunday.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and you mentioned I can't remember what you mentioned now. What was I going to say? You mentioned
Mondell?
yes, you mentioned Mondell. There we go. It was only a little thing. I was just going to say he's got a great non-league name. Junior Mondell is just pure non-league. Obviously, I wish the best for his career, but I think he came from higher up anyway, or like youth football anyway. But yeah, that the I'm moving on to a completely different topic. Yeah, the only thing that came out of Widrington's interview that I mentioned so far was I think he said that he's going to sit down with every player on Thursday to discuss their future at the club. So that's this Thursday ahead of a game on Sunday, which is kind of, I mean, that's unprecedented for any, you wouldn't do that any other time of the season. It's quite a mad, or maybe not a mad thing to do. It's just quite an unusual thing to do, I think, it, especially if you're telling players you're not going to be signed for the next season. Unless it is a kind of motivation thing to be like, well, you're going to be on TV, so show yourself off in the best light, and then hope for a better move or a move around this time. Yeah, just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that. What you thought of kind of Thursday as a time to start talking about players' future. Got anything to say on that, Ian?
Yeah, it is strange timing, but I wonder if it's down to the fact that he wants to keep the players that he's going to be talking to on Thursday. Potentially, those that aren't staying on are already informed. Potentially, they've already had offers from elsewhere that might have been considered or looked at. So, we have had situations in the past, haven't we, where we've offered players contracts for next season and they decided to decline them. So maybe he is just thinking, well, we want to get this down and out on the table for the player to mull over, and hopefully in front of 18, 19,000 Aldershot fans winning the cup at Wembley, that might make them think, oh, this is a special club. Perhaps I will sign on for another year. So perhaps there's a little bit of mind games going on there.
Yeah, I mean that's a good way of looking at it actually. I didn't think of that. Yeah, so it's maybe a bit more pragmatic than last season to be like, well, we're going to tell you what we want. We're going to give you a deadline for come what may. You've got to tell us by this point, or else we've got to look elsewhere. Obviously we had the kind of Geordie thing last season where we signed a keeper and didn't know if someone else was signing, and then they've ended up signing. So yeah, any removal of confusion like that would be would be welcome. Guy, have you got any thoughts on that? Your take on it?
Well, I mean, the only charitable thing I can think of is that, letting them know as early as possible, presumably before their contracts end on the 30th of May, starts to give the players more time as well to start, putting soundings out, or at least their agents. Although that said, I mean, this is Thursday, right? And the game's on Sunday, so it's not that it's not that many days, more. But the truth is that yes, after Sunday, they're going to be, a lot of the players are going to be having to look for look for new clubs, make preparations for the future, because the deadline, the contracts come to an end quite soon. So I suppose that's one way of looking at it. But I mean, I guess the thing is, it's is it for the players' benefit or is it for the club's benefit? And yeah, I can sort of see where Ian's coming from in terms of let's play let's play a few mind games here. Let's get people sort of thinking about whether they want to stay on or not. So I don't know. I mean, does it really matter if it's made on Thursday or on Monday? Or to be fair, Monday's probably going to be a high regardless, right? So would it make a difference to wait a week? I don't know, but that's the management for you.
No, and we will never know what the inverse is. I suppose the only thing I was just remembering there is in Tommy's post-match away at Woking. He did kind of make mention to kind of not, the players not knowing or him not knowing. So I wonder if now he's got clarity that he just wants to do it as quickly as possible on his side. Um, yeah, so I thought that was quite interesting.
Well, yeah, I was just wondering if there was anything in the sort of program notes from Yeovil game that are circulating about the 300 or 400,000 shortfall this year, and hard decisions have to be made, and the ticket prices might go up. So it might be that the board have decided, look, we're going to try and cover the shortfall through the fans rather than cutting whatever budget it is that Tommy has to work with. There could be an element of that yeah, we have to step up and do our bit. Obviously, plenty of us do what we can, and hopefully there's a load of potential fans going to Wembley that could be converted to pick up some of that slack. So that might be the thing that's driving it. And I think Tommy makes comment that he does expect to be here to lead us through. So he's perhaps been happy with what he's been told by Dean Shahid and John Leopard.
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, the program notes. I've not had a chance to read all of them. I think someone maybe have posted them on ShotsWeb
Mm.
yesterday or something. Yeah, or at least some of it. So yeah, definitely go and read that. But yeah, the interesting kind of last few weeks where there's obviously been some question marks or discussions while the team's still been playing. That's been quite interesting to see how that's played out. Um, obviously the results on the pitch have been kind of under the spotlight all the while as well, while he's kind of been chopping and changing the lineup. So it's nice to have a bit of clarity on Monday to see a full strength side out there and moving on to Wembley. Um, I guess that I was just going to touch on the ticket sales. We haven't got that long left, but the latest that I can see from Spennymoor is 3,700. They've sold out all their coaches, and Aldershot ticket sales as of a week ago, so I think it was 28th of April, was 16,891 tickets sold. I think the news of 1,000 more from the Nepalese community and a few more from the Rushmore Muslim Association. I don't think that's included in that, so we can expect a few more to bump that number up. But already, like absolutely ridiculous numbers, and I will probably spend most of the game just taking it all in, as I was at West Brom away, just kind of staring at this massive red and blue, just thinking, where where's all this come from? I mean, and I'll just think of I'm sure the whole day I'll just be listing off names of places that we've been and seen about 200 Aldershot and just thought, how have we got here? Great. Oh, I think from what everyone's saying as well, there's 7,000 from Whitstable. Not sure what's happened there. That seems like the Iceland when they played in the Euros, and managed. What was it, like 70% of Iceland was in France or something, or you had a 10% chance if you were a male between 20 and 30 of playing for Whitstable or something. I don't know. And I think around 4,000 from Whiteleaf. So I mean, it's going to be a fair chunk of fans at Wembley on Sunday. And then I think we mentioned it earlier, but yeah, Hargreaves' injury, so that's probably the only change to the lineup. But Dejan Tetek came off the bench for him, so that seems to be the direct swap, and a Henry and Barrett double at Wembley, which has all the makings of class and silk and quality, doesn't it? Any final thoughts before we head off?
Well, just to say that, you mentioned Henry and Barrett. I just really hope that they can really click, because it hasn't really been like that this season, has it? I mean, there's been, glimmers where the two of them would play off each other, and if anything, I think if these two could do that and make it happen at Wembley, I would be so happy. I am disappointed, of course, to see Cameron Hargreaves, picking up the knock, because I think given how along with Dewhurst, I think he's pretty much played most of the games, and he's been pretty much central to the team throughout the season. I think if he doesn't start, we're going to miss him a bit, because he is a real terrier. I know that he's had some people have detracted, but I feel that he's probably got to be up there as sort of one of our potential players of the season. He's really sort of worked hard.